Hi guys, okay, so this is Trevor, or Kenzie, with a new Nectar G-BT02 deck profile. We've gotten some more stuff from the new set and bumped the trial deck up to the newest set. So that's what we're going to do for this one. There's still a couple cards missing, but we're working on getting them. We're only missing like 4, so you'll know which ones are missing. Doesn't change the deck at all. So for this one, we run the Bud Maiden Hoe, which is the Carmel's 1 at Generation Break 1, and Sticker in the Soul, and you can choose up to a unit on the field and up to 4 with the same name as that unit, and they all get +5. The cool thing about this is I believe you can change it around where you can actually give if you only have like 2, for example, if you only have 2 of the 12Ks, you can each give them 10, because it doesn't say that it have to be a different unit. They just have to say that it just says the units with the same name. So you can technically select them more than once. I have to check a ruling on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes, because that's actually a really good way to bump power on this. So that's that starter for that one. And then we run 4 Ashe. Pretty self-explanatory with her. This is kind of like the main boss card of the deck. You want to run into her because she's her Generation Break 2 unit, as well as the fact that her skill, Generation Break 2, gives clones of themselves the same name. Each single one of them gains +5. So that can also really help a lot, because if you have, a set of 3, for example, then skill goes off, they all get the same skill. So this one gets 5, 5, and 5. And is it stick for more than 1? Yeah, it's as long as you have the same name as this unit gets +5 on the Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. So each one would get 5,000. And then her on-stride skill, her stride break skill, it's a CB1 when it gets stridden, and you can duplicate something on the field, and that duplicated unit gets +2,000. And then our other one is we run 4 of Frillberry, or Frildred. I don't know, Berry Blaster Lady. And she isn't as good, but she's kind of really just stride fodder. She's a CB1 when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, and you can search your deck for a rearguard that's on the field, another basically clone, other than Frildred, and call it to rearguard, and then shuffle the deck. So basically just another way to clone when she hits Vanguard. And she's an 11k body, which is still pretty good, because unlike the other card that we were using, Puff the Magic Dragon, he was only a 10k, and he didn't really have as good of a search effect. This one is basically Ashe's effect for cheap, and as long as it hits. And then you can just kind of clone whatever, so that's always good to have as well. For grade 2s, we run 4 12k, because of the fact that this unit is all about numbers and all about power and duplication and balancing as much power in terms of 3s and 5s and 2s as you can get. Having a 12k on the field is really, really good. And it doesn't... The only thing I don't like about these 12ks for the new gen is that they're only 12 when they swing at Vanguard. Otherwise, they're the vanilla 9 swinging at a rearguard, which is not very much fun. But if you're, giving them all +5 anyway, even if it swings at a vanilla 9, it's going to be swinging for 14 rather than 17. It's not too big of a number difference when you're swinging at rearguards anyway. So that's still good. That's really good, actually. Next, we have 4 of Windwheel. And this card is really, really good. I love this card, as well as the art for it is... it's a Generation Break 1. If it hits Vanguard, you can unflip 2 cards from your damage zone. And, considering that Primavera is a Counterblast 3, and Jingle Dragon Counterblast, and you're counterblasting for the starter, and you're counterblasting for Ashe, and you're counterblasting for Frildred. Anything to clone is pretty much a counterblast in this deck. So being able to unflip 2 just for it hitting, and you're already maxing numbers, your opponent's really going to have a hard time guarding 26, 30-something plus columns to keep you from unflipping 2 damage. So eventually, cards like these are going to break through, and you'll be able to unflip all the damage you've done, and you can basically just keep cloning things and keep giving passive power columns, which is really, really, really great. So yeah, that's the reason why you run 4 of her. And last but not least, we run 4 of Glitterios. And she's a Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1 when it's boosted, and you can pay the cost if you do. Pick something on your field, clone it, and it has to be a card other than Glitterios, and then call it the rear guard. So basically just the grade 2 version of Frillberry, and other than the fact that it doesn't have to hit. All you have to do is boost the damn thing and swing at a Vanguard, I think. Yep. So boost, swing at Vanguard, and it doesn't have to hit, it just has to be boost and swung. And then it gets its effect off. So you can easily clone your board a lot easier with all the support out now. And even though this was trial deck, this is still a really, really good card to run. Grade 1, we run 4 Stride Fodder. Because you don't always want to, you don't want to ditch your Ashes because of Ashe's Generation Break 2 effect. And you're not always going to have Maiden of Frillberry and all that kind of stuff. So, other than the fact, too, is that you don't want to ride this card if you don't have to. So, if you have this card in your hand and you can do this, then you'd want to call and show and reveal to ditch this and get Ashe. That way you can ride and be simple. Also, more to the point on the fact, too, is that with this card, it's also your straight ditch. So, it counts as its grade 3 ride. So, you'll just ditch this instead of having to ditch a grade 3 or 3 cards or 2 cards or whatever it is you need to do to stride, which is really nice because sometimes you need your grade 3s for rear guards and being able to clone and boost and get power numbers and stuff. And then next we have 4 of Kanan. And Kanan is another card. It's basically it's a 7K version of the starter where you counterblast 1, Generation Break 1, and you stick it in your soul. And you'll choose your cards in the field and they gain +5. And I believe it's the same ruling effect that I have to check as our Maiden Ho here. And yeah, she is really really great as well because yeah, you're not gonna have a back row if you try to plus these, but if you're already making your front row rear guard swing for 20 something, and you're running the amount of trigger setup that I do, it really doesn't matter because you're only gonna activate maybe 1 or 2 of these things, and you're gonna be able to just give crazy ass numbers to your field, especially if you're at Generation Break 2 or if you're playing Jingle Dragon or whatever the cost is. And if you always run low and the game's dragging out a little longer than you have, you can always run Primavera to stick them back in your deck and hope you draw into them later and things like that. So there's ways to recycle and get through stuff, but it's mainly just so you can hit power column. And 5K at a time really adds up quick. After that, we run 4 Perfect Guard. There's really no point to run orange anymore. We only run orange because we haven't gotten the chance to get the remaining 2 unflip RPGs. But we're going to originally just fund 4 unflip because, like I said, the deck's kind of counterblast heavy. And there are times where you're not going to be able to get off Wild Bloom here to be able to just go and unflip as much damage as you possibly can. So this unflipping a counterblaster 2 is going to save your butt. And last but not least, we run 2 10K boosters because, well, again, in a deck that's all about power number, 10K booster is going to save your ass. Okay, and trigger time. Yay, trigger time.
Weird trigger lineup.
Very weird triggered lineup. 2 crits, and you're probably wondering, well, what the fuck? Why only 12 crit in a deck, or 2 crit in a deck that is massively power number? Exactly that. Your opponent, everything in the format nowadays is just crit sack, crit sack, crit sack, crit sack, crit sack. I just want to crit sack for days. And really, it's kind of not fun, and it doesn't really work as much, in my opinion. Because with this deck, it's like, it's great. So you're going to get 3 huge attacks off, and what happens if your opponent barely is enough to guard them? Well, because generally you're expecting crits anyways, so they're not going to really notice what's next, which is stands. 5 stand. And especially with this stand right here, the fact that this stand, you can call it back into the deck and you get to choose up to 2 rear guards that are with the same name and duplicate, and they get +5. So with this and with Kanan and the starter and Ashe's effect, or even Jingle Dragons, you're going to be making, 5, 10, 15, 20,000 extra power to the columns, and that's going to be great. On top of the fact that you're going to swing heavy number, swing with heavy number, swing with the Vanguard. Oh look, double stand. Now you get to stand another column and an additional 10 your already massive column. Your opponent's never going to see that coming. Sure, some really good players might just automatically assume Nectar can do it, but a lot of people run crits, and so this way it kind of can catch your opponent off guard. Or, they can hope you don't get stands, and when you do, it's kind of an assured death. And last but not least, we run 5 draw. Because, again, in a deck that's kind of heavily rigor reliant like this, you're going to need draws to replenish what you're losing in case of heavy on-hit attacks. So, yeah, that's pretty much the reason for the draws. And last but not least, 4 heal. Because, well, who the hell? Why would you never run 4 heal unless you want to be a troll? So.
16 stand Neo Nectar. Let's do this shit.
Don't tempt me. And then last but not least, the Gzone. Which we have 4 Jingle Dragon.
We don't have the other 2 yet. We're waiting.
We're waiting for the prices to drop just a little bit. I know they're already cheap, but we want them for cheaper. We're going to be a little price poor.
We have no money. We're poor.
We're broke, I know. And then you're all of a sudden like, wait, but Trevor just spent, $60 on blaster blades. Leave me alone. I want my knights. I don't care about my herbs yet. My flowers can wait. Anyways, Jingle Dragon. And you run 4 Jingle Dragon because of the fact that it's kind of like Ragnarok or Saint Blow or any of the other cards that have an unflipped cost to themselves. But with this one is it's an act, and once per turn you get to choose a unit, and that unit gains a skill that during the turn any unit with the same card name as itself gains +2. So if you have Ashe, for example, since the stride unit gains the effect, Ashe, your Jingle Dragon now also has the name of Ashe, which is if you have 2 rearguard Ashes, they're also going to get the +2, and on this as well. So everything is going to get a power bump, and then you've got Kanan to give more power bump, and the stand triggers to give more power bump, and the starter to give more power bump. In other words, just death by field. And that's the reason why you run her. But she's also requires 2 already up-placed Gzone. And the first time isn't going to be really as strong. The second time, you really want to run... If you're going to pop your skill a second time, it better be for assured death. Otherwise, you're really out of options on how to just boost, and you're going to hope for trigger sack at that point, which is never really fun. So, since Jingled Flower is a G2, you're going to end up running... You run 2 Arborea, and this will be your initial stride. Because when she hits, she's just another clone of Ashe, just for free. So you'll just hit and search something else and clone it and call it to the field. And she's pretty decent as the initial stride. But you don't really want to run more of her because there's other cards that are better, such as Jingle Flower and the amount of boosting in terms of number power. And last but not least, 1 Generation Rare Primavera. Because of and you only run because of the fact that her skill is so damn costly.
Hard to pull off.
A counterblast 3, and you'll put 5 normal units from your drop zone into the deck in any order that you choose, and then choose a card from your hand and discard it. And then you pay this when it attacks, and if you do, you'll choose up to 2 rearguards from the top of your deck and call them to separate rearguard units. So if you've gone through your 12Ks and things like that, or you need to fill up field, you can call this and you can stick Glitterios back, and then have call Windflower or whatever for your little units here, and then or you can get another grade 1 and have call them or whatever you kind of need. It allows you to kind of toolbox your way out of a situation if you've run through a lot of stuff that you don't need. It's just the fact that her cost is just so damn heavy for something that's kind of like her effect would be a lot better if it was a lot cheaper. So you run this, and you really only play this if you're in a tight spine. Otherwise, you're just going to run Arborea into Jingle Flower and hope you can combo them to death. That's really the only objective you've got. Yeah, and that's comes to the end of that. So this one is kind of, I'm not really dead set on. I don't really know a whole lot. I'm always testing. So if you guys see something you want to comment on, or see if I should switch into something different and you've seen something that works better, let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys have to change about this. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, give us all the salty tears.